Hey guys, how's it going? Good to see everybody. Today we are going to be working on fixing a few things like gizmos and stuff like that, and then adding some new animations. And I guess one of the things we can do too is fix this degenerate case. We can take a look at that and see if we can figure out. I have a feeling that's just divide by zero bug somewhere, somehow. Shouldn't be too bad. But yeah, just to take stock of where we left off and stuff, last episode we got SVG parsing done, specifically CSS parsing, which allows us to import all sorts of SVGs now, and we get the colors embedded in there too. So if you want the color, it's all added and stuff. For example, if we go here, we have this spaceship that we can import, and as you can see, it has some colors associated with it. When we draw the SVGs, we just draw them in white, but the color gets embedded into the objects, which we can see here. If we kind of look at it, you can see the color automatically got picked up from the styles and the CSS and stuff. So yeah, pretty cool stuff. Let's make this a little bit smaller to like 3. That's good. Okay, one of the things I want to fix first of all is the gizmos. So if you'll notice, these are not correct. See, if I zoom in, it's probably more exaggerated. Yeah, so you can see my mouse cursor's in here, but it doesn't actually pick it up until I'm there. I don't know if you guys can quite see that color shift, but when I move up to here, it detects it. Now, what's wrong? What's wrong is I am dumb, as with most problems. So I'm not calculating offsets correctly. If we take those things out and then I go back here, well, I thought it would be fixed, but it's still not fixed. So there's more than one thing wrong. I'm assuming what's wrong is I'm not calculating the offset of this pixel correctly, which is necessary in order to get the appropriate reverse projection and everything. So that is something that we will have to fix. So we can go ahead and start doing that right now. Let's put this down here. Just fix this stuff up real quickly. Wait, can I do this? Yeah, let's do that. That's better. Okay. So how do you even debug something like this, right? How do I tell, okay, we want to fix this? Clearly we can see, let's try and figure out exactly what's going wrong first of all, right? So if I move my mouse up here, you can see it goes. So the Y offset is completely off is what we can tell. And then if I move my mouse over here, you can see the X is correct. So X is correct, Y is off, which is interesting. If we zoom out, let's just kind of verify. Now you can see the Y is shifted and it even looks correct now, which tells me that we're not calculating the zoom appropriately either. So something's going wrong with the zoom, something's going wrong with the offset as well. So we can take a look at all this stuff. What I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to add a metric inside of our app metrics that tells us our mouse position at all times so that we can kind of keep track of stuff and verify our assumptions and everything, and then we'll go from there. Yeah. How's it going, Voxers? Good to see you. And there are memory leaks. That's not good. We'll have to take a look at that too eventually. So let's go to app metrics. Metrics. Which is somewhere, editor, GUI.cpp, maybe? App metrics, nope. It should be in here though, somewhere. So we've got, let's see, update goes through, timeline, that's debug panel. That's what I'm guessing it is. Yeah, so we got the SVG cache. Okay, here we go. And then we have app metrics. So let's add in one thing. I'll do it below all this stuff. So we'll go right here. Let's get our mouse position, just the raw coordinates, which I can get through inputs, which I need to import. So let's go up here, hash include core/input, and go back down there. So input mouse pose. Where's mouse X? Okay. So we're going to say I'm GUI text mouse position %2.3f, %2.3f. And let's go ahead, log that. This is going to be input mouse X input mouse Y. We're going to log a few other things as well. I want to log like the position of that panel, all that stuff, and make sure everything is correct. So whoops. Okay, so we can see right here, we have our mouse position logging, and it looks, excuse me, it looks correct. If we go up here, we get 0, 0, which is what I would expect. And if we go down here, we should get something like 3840. 2160 is my screen resolution, but of course, our window is slightly smaller because of this window bar and this title bar. So we get something slightly smaller, but that's good. That looks correct. Cool. So next thing we want to do is make sure that the top left corner of this, so it says my mouse position is 544, 163. I want to make sure that I'm getting the correct position there in terms of our IM GUI panel. So let's log what we think that is. I think if I go to viewport.cpp, no, let's go to editor GUI. Somewhere in here. Okay, here we go. Animation editor view. So yeah, we have this thing. This is kind of what controls that logic to sort of detect where that window is, all that stuff, so that we can get the appropriate unprojection for our gizmos to try and figure out where our mouse is in world space. And we use this viewport offset, which, do I have a method to get this? I don't think so. Okay, well, let's add a method for now to get this so that we can do some testing, and then we will remove it afterwards. So we'll say vec2 viewport offset to do remove me for debugging purposes only. Okay, and we'll just call this get. So we got that. Let's go into here. I will add the same to do here as well, just so we don't lose that. Go back. Where did I go? Okay. That's that. Return viewport offset. Okay, so that should give us the offset. Let's make sure that is correct now. We will go here and say viewport offset. We're missing an E. That way it's all nice. So I'll do that. Actually, what we can do is we can just say, let's spell this correctly and just add an extra space. That works too. Okay, so we'll do that. We want to say editor GUI viewport get viewport offset.x and y. And then we want to import that. Let's do this very quickly. Hopefully this bug should go pretty quickly too, so that we can move on to some other more interesting stuff. Hopefully. Editor, viewport, or this guy. No? Yes, okay. Cool. And let me tell you too, for some reason, gizmos and unprojecting stuff into world space, I always have problems when it comes to viewports. Like, it just happens no matter what. I've never gotten this stuff right first try. I'm always finicking with it, trying to get it right, and it's just a pain. I have no idea why. Okay, so look at that. We can see, if I move my mouse, we've got the mouse position here. This is at 541.207.2, and if we look here, we have 541, and we should get the top left corner of this is what we should get, which it looks like it's off. Okay, so that's good. So we already know that we're off by like a small factor in the Y direction, but the X direction is correct, which reflects what we were seeing when I was doing this. Because if we go and select this guy, you'll notice that the Y is off, but if we look at the X, it looks like the X is appropriate. So that's good to know. Why are we off in the Y direction by around 40 pixels or so? That's the question. So let's go back into here and see if we can fix this. How do we get the viewport offset? We go, okay, so we get the relative offset. We get our largest size for our viewport, blah, 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 whatever that does. Actually, we should probably take a look at what this does. So this basically just goes through. It says, okay, what's our target aspect ratio? And then how much is the viewport scrolled? because we subtract that out, I guess. We don't want any scroll amount, so that's the only reason I have that here. Basically go through, and then I calculate the width and the height, and then that's the offset for this kind of interior part, right? So that's how much space to add for these black bars is what that relative offset is. So there's nothing really particular fancy about that. So we get that. Then we set the viewport to that, and then we set our viewport offset as our cursor screen pose, which is just wrong. That's really interesting. Do we do anything else to it after that? No. So that's really interesting. I don't know why the cursor screen pose is off by such a big factor in the Y direction. Weird. You would assume, so this gets, let's see what this does. So get cursor screen pose. Yeah, it literally just returns the direct context cursor pose. But it's getting it for the current window. Does that, I don't know why that would mean anything, but let's look it up. IMGUI get cursor screen pose, not correct. Yeah, he says to just use get cursor screen pose. Yeah, this is very strange. Oh, wait. Okay, now he's saying mouse pose minus cursor screen minus scroll. I wonder why he's saying to subtract the scroll. That's interesting. Let's see if we have anything else real quick. No, we're not seeing anything there. Interesting. So he said there to subtract the scroll for some reason, which is kind of weird. Voxtropes, does it factor in the title bar or something? That's what I'm wondering, is if like the title bar, but that just makes no sense to me because it get cursor screen pose, I would assume gets the screen position, you know, not like factoring in anything else. Oh, maybe this title bar is what you're saying. Ah. I wonder if it is taking into account that. Which if it is, it would be wrong, I imagine. Would it though? No, I think you're right. Yeah. So I think my mouse position is actually incorrect because it's getting us the mouse position and not taking into account that title bar. Yeah, because we start 0 here. I don't know, though. Is it correct to do that? Because technically, the mouse position we're getting is straight from GLFW, which doesn't include this and says that 0 is the top here. I think that's definitely got to be the problem, though. Why would it be a Y offset? It's probably because of that title bar. That's really weird. Let's do a... Windows get size of a window title bar. Well, actually, can we do it? GLFW. That's just the title, window position, size limits, window size. Okay, yeah, so it's giving us the content area of the window, which is fine for full screen windows, blah, blah. Yep. Do not pass the window size of GL viewport or other pixel-based OpenGL calls. The window sizes in screen quarters, not pixels. Use the frame buffer size. Oh, that's interesting too. I always use the window size, so wonder that's probably not right, but do we have anything else? Very odd, yeah, but I'm pretty sure 00 is correctly aware of the window title bar. Yeah, that is, but I'm wondering if IMGUI for some reason is taking the window title bar into account when it calculates its screen position, which is kind of interesting. Let's actually check, does IMGUI add window title bar into screen position? Okay. Mouse Y has an offset and an SDL decorated window. Oh, this might be a Viewport branch bug, which I am on the Viewport, but this was in 2018, and I have a higher version than that, which is interesting. I tested with both that. Yeah, let's see real quickly. I'm curious, is this always true too? Let's do some more testing real quick, which I should have done from the start. So if I decrease the size of this, okay. So now we have mouse position. So our viewport offset still shows 2153. Oh, okay. Wait a second. This is interesting. This is the global offset. Okay, so it's a good thing we did this. This is like the global offset in the overall actual screen, not just the window. So that was my mistake. So what I need to do, I think, is I need to subtract the window offset from this, and that should give us the correct coordinates. Ah, okay. And I'm assuming he does that because IMGUI technically manages several windows that could be taken off of the actual, like, window, and it gets complicated and stuff. So I'm assuming that's why. I wonder, so if we do minus IMGUI get window position, well, okay. IMGUI get main viewport position. Yeah, let's try that. I wonder if that will get us the correct offset. The issue was still open. Okay, so that's the problem too. Now we're getting 541, 170.15. And would you look at that? That looks correct. Okay, so that was the problem, I think. So now if we do this, but we're still not getting the correct... because I inverted the Y coordinates. Okay, so I inverted the Y coordinates because I thought that it was a problem with how I was calculating my gizmos, heights and stuff, which clearly it was not. So let's go back into gizmos now and fix this for real. Pro tip, when you're debugging, don't fix things you think are the problem. Fix the actual problems and like debug appropriately. Otherwise, you fix the wrong stuff. So what did I do here? Yeah, so basically what I did was I added these offsets. Wait, no, that's right. That's correct. Wait a second. Wait a second. Somewhere in here, I am doing something bad. Let's see. Okay. Yes, I think it's this negative size dot y over 2. No, I think that might be right. Is that correct? I can't remember now. Is mouse hovered? I think it's a problem. I think it was from here is where I was changing it. Okay, so we have this. That looks fine. Okay, maybe I'm lying. Something does have to be wrong here. Maybe it is this then. Minus size.y over 2. Let's try that. Okay, I think that was it. So now we have the correct bounds. That's good. Nice. And for these gizmos, I only check if you're clicking like within that space. We should fix that too. So when I click, it like kind of shifts it because the gizmo isn't actually aligned properly there, I guess. That is so much nicer though already. Like it was so annoying having it when I clicked on the gizmo, not actually click on the gizmo. Okay, so that's pretty good though. And if we move this around, I should still have it. We should fix that too. We only want this to be draggable by the title bar. Let's fix that real quickly as well. Let's go back through here. First of all, let's go ahead and just commit this stuff since we did fix this. That was easy. Nice. I always appreciate it when it is an easy bug to fix. So let's go into here. No, that was fine. It's an editor GUI. We added that. Let's remove that. And remove this. And we should be good. Yeah. I also added a couple imports in here that we no longer need. We no longer need that. We no longer need that. Okay. So we'll do that. Status, add, commit, fix gizmo position bug. I need to merge this branch into master soon because it has a lot of changes that I need to add. By the way, I want to know your first impressions on this. Advent of Code Part 2. I'm not going to bias your opinion with mine. I will have to check that out in a minute. Let's continue with this real quick, and I'll check that out after we get to a better place with this. Just want to wrap it up. Okay, so what were we doing? We fixed the gizmo. We fixed the gizmo. I have no idea what I was doing. Let's check it out. I can't remember where I was going with that. Okay, so article is Advent of Code 2022 series. It's Rust. Uh-oh. I'll have to, I think I've seen this guy's website before. I'm not sure, but it looks familiar. I'll have to check this out in my off time because this is a bit more involved than I thought it would be. But I'll check this out a little bit later, and we can talk about it on Discord maybe in a little bit, if you're okay with that. But okay, so gizmo's fixed. That's good. It's a rock, paper, scissors program. Gotcha. Should be pretty simple, at least I assume, but Advent of Code problems, I also assume, are never as simple as they seem. So, this is what we were fixing. Now I remember. That should only be movable by the title bar. Let's fix that real quick. There we go. I remembered. Okay, so we can fix that really easily. Animation editor viewport. Let's just add a window flag. Flags, title. No, I want to say no move on title bar. How do we do that? Always auto resize, menu bar. I'm GUI title bar only move. They do ramp up apparently closer to 25th. Interesting. So they are easier is what it sounds like. Okay, so I guess if we want this, we have to do it to everything or nothing. That's kind of sad. I kind of like being able to move them with anywhere from the title, the GUI, but I guess this is fine. I am GUI. Where do we set this up? Maybe we do set up I am GUI in here. No, I didn't think we do. I think we set up I am GUI. Let's check it out. Source core No, I think it's an editor. Maybe it is in core. Yeah, okay, I'm GUI there. So I guess we can add a config flag. Title bar only. No move. What is it? Docking enable, this stuff, touchscreen. Was it an IO config flag? I swear that's what he said. Control H. That's not my history. Today. What the heck? Sometimes I don't understand Opera. Okay, I'm GUI, title bar only move. That's what we want. Yeah, it says configuration flag. Oh, it's actually, okay. So I can see how this could be confusing. Config Windows move from title bar only equals true. Okay. Cool. So I think that means we should be fixed there now. Let's just make sure it works. Okay, cool. So that's good. The reason I wanted that is because, oh, interesting. We have a little bit of a, so we can see it moving in both places because I have two viewports. That's kind of cool. Unintended side effect, I guess. That's also another cool thing. So I'm getting a lot of emergent behavior that's kind of appearing now. Let's take stock though. So I've added a couple things I didn't really tell you guys about, but since we got a little bit more people here, we can sort of talk. So one interesting thing I've done, first of all, let's turn that off because if I don't, weird things happen, is you can now move the camera. The camera is actually an object in the world. So you see we have a camera here and you can actually see it highlighted here. And if we look at this move to animation, it is actually operating on the camera, which we can see here. So move to animations, I made a little bit different than regular animations. It doesn't make sense to move a bunch of objects to a single place in my mind. Maybe there will be a use case eventually. So I changed it up a little bit where the API now you just drag a single object that you want to move. And so say I wanted to move the hello world object afterwards, I could go ahead and like add a move to animation where after we move the camera, I move the hello world object back over there. So we could do that. And I could say drag him over here after that animation, and then he will move from here to here. So, right, we kind of have this ability to do that for multiple objects. And since the camera is now like just a regular game object, what's going on too? This is interesting. Why did the camera not move back? Camera? Yeah, so this is another thing I have to fix. Objects don't really move back to places and stuff. There's some things that I gotta fix with just resetting the state of things because it gets kind of finicky and stuff. But anyways, once we have this working, you can see the hello world object kind of slides back into view. But the cool thing about this is since the camera is just another object in the world, we can kind of do interesting stuff. Eventually, we can like add zoom animations where basically we zoom it in more. So if I go back to here actually, and we change, so if we look at the animation view, this is kind of like what the camera is seeing, right? And if we change this to 2, it actually zooms it out, but you can see that we get a different zoom level. And does that reflect here? It does not. Okay, so that's one thing we should fix too, is where like we actually see the appropriate size the camera bounds. But yeah, so we basically, right, zoom, it's basically just multiplying this projection size by 2. But it's pretty cool because then we can do interesting stuff like zooming the camera, which, you know, there are use cases for that in animations and stuff. But we can also just technically kind of do any of these animations to it. It doesn't really make sense for a lot of these. Like rotate to makes sense. Move to makes sense, right? If we rotate the camera, it doesn't affect it right now because I'm not using that. So maybe we'll have like a camera rotation actually do stuff eventually. But yeah, it's kind of cool. that we have this. Eventually what I want to do too is like if you replace a camera with a camera, I want it to like fade between them, you know? So theoretically you could drag this in here and then like have replacement between two cameras, all that stuff. But yeah, so I've added that. I also fixed up some SVG rendering stuff. So if we take a look at this object, I now have SVGs working fairly well. Like we can import pretty much anything. If I look at, I think it's in here. No, if we look at here, yeah. So if I look at here, I can import this. You can see my frames drop. I'm going at like 5 frames per second right now because this is giant. But if I get off of that, it speeds up. So the reason it drops so much is because this object itself has a lot of children objects. And when I select it, it's updating every single one of those every frame, which slows things down. So I should probably come up with faster ways to do that. If we go in release mode, it's not as bad though. But anyways, let's blow this up a bit. So if I change this to like 10 by 10, maybe bigger, 15. I should have like a scale uniformly thing or something too. Maybe a scale gizmo is something we need to add eventually. Anyways, if we do this, let's also just change the fill color to green. That looks good. Sure. And then let's also just increase the scale to, there we go. It's a little bit crisper now. Cool. So we've got this. Okay, now we're back up to 60 FPS now that I've gotten off of it. But it does drop once we start drawing it. This is really cool though, because like this works and I am very happy that it works because I was not expecting to. It's very slow, but it does work. This is a giant SVG, and if we actually look at it kind of like at this stage and then we go ahead and switch to tessellated view, you can see we're drawing all the paths of every single one of these countries. Like this is no joke. This is quite a heavy duty SVG. So the fact that it parses it pretty quickly, imports it, all that stuff, I'm pretty happy with that. Let's just get out of there so that we get our frames per second back up. And this is in debug mode as well, so of course it's gonna be slower. Kush Zay, hello, is this an editor entirely made by you? Yes. With exception, so the GUI I'm using, I am GUI, but the timeline is not built into I'm GUI, so this is all hand coded, and then I changed the style significantly to match something that I like a little bit better. But yeah, other than that, entirely made by me, I guess. But yeah, so it's pretty cool. You can also see too, we have each individual country, because that's what this SVG was for a specific video I did. Yeah, I'm just really happy that it was able to import that. If we take a look at the SVG itself as well, this is what it looks like. No, this is just one of the paths that I was testing with because some things were broken and I had to fix them. This is what the SVG looks like. Okay, it's just this giant thing and it has like embedded styles and everything and it all just kind of worked. Of course, we don't have support for like stroke dash array miter limits and stuff, which I should add since I do have miter limit built into my path rendering. I should add the miter limits and stuff. And it should work correctly. But yeah, it's able to successfully parse this and import it and everything, which is just, that was very good. And I was happy that it does this. Okay. Yes, very giant SVG. But that is besides the point. I am curious too, real quickly. If we switch back into release mode instead of debug mode, it should speed up significantly. A lot of the time, like those kind of slowdowns and stuff are just because of function calls and everything, which are helpful for debugging and for code readability, but they get inlined and whatnot when you actually compile in release mode and it speeds a lot of stuff up. So when we compile this way, we should see it kind of increase a little bit more. One other thing I want to do too today is add one new animation, which is a highlight animation, where basically if you add this to an object or a set of objects, it goes and like draws a little flashing animation around it. Let's see if we can look it up on Manum, because they have it. This is exactly what I want to do. Manum highlight Let's see. It might be called something else. It might be called Flash or something. Okay, we'll take a look at this in just a second. So let's see if we go to animations, indication, might be called Flash. So yeah, they have this thing, which I think is kind of cool. I want to add something like that. Yeah, so the Flash one is pretty cool. I wish they gave kind of examples of like exactly. I think it's focus on is the one I was thinking of. No, possibly, maybe. Not focus on. Indicate. Possibly. Doesn't look right either though. Circumscribe. That's the one I was thinking of. Okay. So yeah, circumscribe looks pretty cool. It basically just draws. Yeah, just like a thing around it, which is kind of cool. It shouldn't be too hard too. I'm trying to see. So they give you, these are the options they give you, and I want to give similar options because this is intended to be like a Manum replacement. Of course, it's not going to work exactly the same way, but I want it to be pretty similar because that was the whole point of this, was just like an editor and just make it faster and stuff. But yeah. What's supposed to be in the timeline? Just the countries, or is it just in general? I can talk about the editor in just a second too. Yeah. But let's just check this out. So we'll take a look at this, and this is kind of what we'll implement in terms of what the timeline and everything represents. So these, so we have objects up here, right? And then we have animations. So if I go back here, you'll notice it's also much faster. I'm not dropping frames now, even though I was clicking on that because we are in release mode. And if I play this, we do drop a little bit of frames, but it's pretty good. And so you can see these animations actually represent the animations that are happening on screen. So the timeline kind of gives you a view of what's happening when. So you can see, like, as I'm going through here, this is a move to animation that's moving this object, which is the hello world object in our scene, from here to here. This move to animation is moving the camera, which if we look up here, this is the camera, kind of that white box that we see. And so if I click onto this, we can see I get a gizmo that shows me where it moves to, and we get some properties up here. And so I can move this over here. It's not updating because I still have to change some stuff to fix it, but we can kind of adjust that till it's appropriate. And then if we go back into here now, and then we play it, everything kind of goes the way you would expect it to. So that's what those represent. And then this is like just a different animation. It's a create animation, which takes in several objects, and you can see it takes in the hello world object and the new object, which is our map. So we can actually rename this to like SVG. To that, and that does this animation where it like draws them in, is kind of what that one is. So yeah, you can have several different ones. We have all the animations here. We have shift. A lot of these don't work right now. I have to fix them and stuff. So that will be done. And then of course you have the option to export the video. So if I were to say export this to test.mp4, and then we export, it starts going through. You can kind of watch it if you want. Everything starts lagging very badly because I don't have this asynchronous or anything like that. And I'm exporting every individual frame at high fidelity, so it takes a little bit longer. But you can kind of watch it. If I hit stop exporting, it will stop exporting it early, but I'll let it go on just a little bit longer so that we can kind of see the output and stuff. This is a good test too, because I haven't exported anything in a while. Is this a video editor? Correct. Yeah, this is, it creates MP4s only right now, but I'm using FFmpeg, so I could theoretically create like anything I want, you know? And by the way too, this, if you just leave this running, it'll stop at the end of the last animation. So it should stop like right there. So yeah, if we let that go, and I'll let it finish up this animation, then just stop exporting. Okay, so we stop exporting there. And if I go into, it doesn't let you choose. I could add a file picker and stuff. I don't have that yet. If we go into here, now you can see we've got a 4K resolution rendering of exactly what we have. So that's kind of the flow from end to end. Gotta work on, yeah, test.mp4.mp4. I always forget that it adds the extension for me, so I don't have to do that, but Yeah. You can also too. So I've got a scene manager in here as well. So you can also add new scenes, and eventually I'll have transitions between the scenes and stuff. But basically you can go into here and like create a whole new thing, you know? So if you've got several scenes and you don't want to start lagging stuff and whatnot, let's add a camera too, so that we actually have a camera. And I don't think it knows that there's a camera in this scene yet, as evidenced by the fact that there is nothing here. Let's go ahead. Let's just add some stuff because I have not done the flow from the beginning in a while. We'll give it mask fill. Do that. Let's do, okay, so then you have to add a track here. So it's kind of laborious to start everything up, and I want to make that simpler. But that's a future problem. For now, I just want it to work. Then I want it to be fast. Then I want it to work and be fast and be easy. I don't know. There's some saying like that, right? So yeah, it looks like it hasn't picked up my camera. Oh yeah, it's because I have to say that this is the active camera. So I just have to toggle that. Yeah, and I also have these swapped. I have to fix that too. I forgot. Which is also interesting. If you change the projection size, this gets squashed because I assume that you want a projection size of whatever. I'll have to change that. But yeah, you have to toggle that is active camera. I got to fix this. It's kind of hacked. It does not look good. But yeah, so if we do that, and I guess I'm moving the camera instead of moving the text, which moving the text probably makes more sense. But then we have a new scene, and we can play this scene. Pretty cool. If I stop, it'll save all my state. So if I stop in the middle of this and then I switch back to this scene, we're exactly where we left off here. You can see it kind of saved all my properties, the timeline. I'm in the same place in the timeline. If I go back here, same place in the timeline, all that stuff. So can go back and forth, which is pretty cool. Let's just see. I'm curious too. Do we get no leaks and no errors? That's good. I'm pretty happy with that. So yeah. But yeah, what plans I got for this editor? To use it to make videos. So it's going to be used to make my YouTube videos as a replacement for Manum. Hopefully pretty soon. I've got another 2-week break coming up, and my plan is next 2-week break I want to, nope, I don't want dist. I want debug. My next 2-week break, I want to get this to I want to use it to make a video in the next 2-week break, hopefully. And the video is going to be about making this. So it'll kind of cover all the highlights of what we went through the past 6 months. So yeah, this is supposed to have 3D support too, but I don't actually have that built in yet. So it's kind of sad. One day. We'll switch to a desert for now. And let's give it yellow color because it's a desert. And let's make it a little bit smaller. 5, 7. All right, so we've got this. Now, I want a highlight animation. We're going to do this thing, circumscribe, okay? So I already calculate the bounding boxes on all these SVGs and everything. I have this draw debug boxes, which doesn't do anything right now because I've kind of been messing with that. I'll have to re-implement that, but eventually it'll draw the boxes, tight bounding boxes around this. So let's do this. Shouldn't be too hard. Famous last words. Let's get this working though. And this, I'm gonna downscale the SVG. So also too, by the way, this SVG scale controls how big the outputs into our output texture. So if I made this like a resolution of 5, it gets super blurry because all that we're getting is some sort of tiny little blur up here. Whereas if I increase this like 200, it gets kind of fuzzy. You can see the edges are not very crisp because we've got a really tiny texture there. If I go up to a resolution of 500, which is pretty good, you can see we've still got some aliasing and stuff, but it's not bad. And then if you want to go even higher scale, you can, of course, go higher scale. I think eventually what I want to do is like have an export scale that automatically upscales everything like 2 times or 3 times so that when you export videos, they're in higher quality than when you're previewing them here because obviously you want the exported video to be higher quality and stuff. But future plans. And dang, I have to raise my hat to you. I wouldn't even dream of doing that. Thanks. And I probably shouldn't have done all this. It was mainly naivety and my part in thinking that this would be way easier than it really was, and it turning into something that I had no idea it would turn into. So yeah, it is what it is, though. It's fun. I enjoy working on it. So what did we change? We fixed something. Make windows movable from title bar only. Okay. Hello, Fast Assassin. How's it going? Good to see you. So we're going to add a new animation now. Let's go into animation.h. All right, a couple other things I added were some code helpers. So I added this fixed size array thing here, which basically takes in the length of this enumeration. And what this does is it'll throw me a compiler error if this does not match. And this is important because I index into this to get animation names and everything, and it needs to be kept in sync with this. And this is a perfect time to show how this works, since we're kind of going through this stuff and adding a new animation. So I'm going to add a new animation here, which we are going to call circumscribe, to keep it kind of in the Manum lingo. So now if I add that here, what I would want, because this is kind of important so that everything gets updated properly, is I would want to add it here. I also want to add it to here because we need some data here and also here. So 3 different places. Now if I try to compile, I've added a new enumeration. I need to add this to some other places. You see I start getting a ton of template errors, and template errors are always kind of gross and they don't really tell you what's going wrong, but it is telling me what's wrong. You just kind of have to look in the right place. If we look at the output, you can see we get static assertion failed, animation.h line 84, which tells me look in here at line 84, which if we look at line 84, I can see it's this thing, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is probably the wrong size. And it kind of gives me a hint that this is incorrect. And so now if I were to add this and say circumscribe and just kind of fill out all these details, of course I'm going to have to do it here, but hopefully that should clue me in that I need to add it to these arrays as well. This one is applies to children. Circumscribe. This one does not. So we'll do that. We also don't need that comma. And then is animation group data. I can't even remember what this means. It's an animation group. Oh, I do remember what this means. And no, this is not. Okay. So this one would be false. So basically what this does, I can kind of explain what these different magic things do. Circumscribe. Okay, so now if we compile this again too, you should see now it's compiling successfully. No more template errors. So it's a good thing. I want to add one other thing too. So this is helpful here, but I wonder if there's a compiler flag I can use where an unhandled switch case in an enumeration. And I wonder if we can turn that compiler flag, C++. Let's look it up real quick because that would be good. So C++ compiler, unhandled enum value in switch. Yes, I would like to be warned of this. Completely depends on the requirements of your system. I would actually argue it's better not to use default in this case. If you leave it out, you'll get a useful warning if you missed a case at compile time. Ah, okay. If you compile a W error, then your program will fail and until I fixed it. Interesting. So if we just leave out the default cases in our switches, then we should get compiler warnings. Can we turn on single compiler warning as error? I wonder if we can add specific warnings as errors. I want to enable C++, MSVC. Yes, treat specific warning as an error. This is what I want to do. Enter the number only for multiple warnings, comma, /WE. Okay, so if we do /WE, quote, and then the warning number. Let's do this. I want to do this because this is important as well. So we're going to go through here, remove all of our default cases, and fix all that stuff. So yeah. And then I'll talk about what the is animation group data and all that stuff does. Yeah. Fast Assassin, did I win the challenge thingy? Which challenge thingy? I may not know what you're talking about. Okay, let's remove all of our defaults. Let's actually look for default colon. Okay, so let's remove this guy because we want these to be compiler errors. We do not want them to just silently work. That. This is cool though. I didn't even know I could do this. So it is kind of annoying. Ooh, wait a second. Okay, before we do this, should I? Because like ideally you'd still want to get like know if you got garbage passed in there. I don't know. If garbage is passed in there, we have bigger problems anyways, I guess, right? I'm going to do it this way. I think this is probably better because I'd rather know about unhandled cases, which is more important in my opinion than this. I haven't had this as a problem nearly as much. So actually, I can't remember a single time that I've had garbage passed in and that being a problem. So yes. The one you came around in. I'm sorry. Unfortunately, I can't even remember which challenge thingy that you came around in that I was doing. Maybe I'm trying to think if this was a past stream or something. You're gonna have to give me a little bit more info. If you can find the stream and remind me, I will remember then. But I'd like to say yes, I did win the challenge, but I probably didn't. I have no idea. So okay, let's see. We've got this one. This is a special thing. What? This is broken. I think this was not supposed to be like that. I think that was supposed to be down here, so that was broken. Good thing we looked at this. Let's get rid of that. Well, best of luck to your product, mate. I'll jump off, but awesome project, great work. Thanks. Good to see you, too. Okay, let's keep going. Get rid of this. That guy. I can't believe I had no idea that C++ would warn you about unhandled switch statements. Like, don't know why I never did this earlier. There's a lot of cool things that C++ has that actually kind of tell you things that are nice. Okay, this one I'm going to leave because this is kind of a special thing. Yeah, that is actually important. As is this, and this, and this. This one is also important because it's not typed. So anything that's not typed, you do want to leave the default in because those have nothing to really go with. View mode is typed, so we do want to fix that. Yep, we'll do that. Of course, even with typed stuff, you could still get garbage passed in, but the likelihood of that is a lot lower, hopefully. So format is an FT glyph format, which is just I think that's just a type def. If we look at this, it's a type def enum, but it's a C style enum. So I don't think we're going to get actual. Is this actually? I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm going to leave this one alone. Because honestly, I don't care about that one too much anyways, too. This is important. As is that. And that. There's a lot of switch statements in my code. I should probably examine if this is actually as efficient as I think it is. So, yeah. Okay, do that. That. And Fast Assassin, I don't know, it kind of looked like Stardew, but it was a very small game. Huh. I don't remember doing this. I might have. I wonder if you may be thinking of a different streamer, maybe? I don't know, because I don't remember playing any game. I don't think I've ever played a game on stream. I might have, but I could be wrong on that. Okay, curve type. Let's take that out. But still good to see, though. So thanks for coming. We do want to handle all cases here. Yes. Same here. And here. You're the only making game streamer, so it was probably... Oh, okay, if I was making a game. Huh. It might have been my Minecraft game that I was working on, which hopefully I will continue working on eventually. But it's been a while, so... Danster, good to see you. How long have I been coding? You're a first-year CS student, and it seems like I have a long way to go before I'm on your level. I think I've been coding for 8 years now. I don't know. I started in high school with Minecraft Redstone, surprisingly. So how's that for you? But you don't have to worry about like getting to a certain level or anything. As long as you just keep going. The one thing that I've learned is never look at a project as a whole. Always look at the smallest piece possible, and that will get you much farther than thinking about something that's too big to handle. You know, like I never thought I'd be writing a CSS parser in here, but that's what this is a part of. And it just kind of happened because it was a necessary requirement. So, and even then, like I didn't think about let's write a whole CSS parser. I thought let's write the minimum possible thing to get this working, and then kind of went from there. So, yeah. But I wouldn't worry too much. If you like programming and stuff, then you'll eventually learn more, and you'll look back at the past 5 years and be like, why was I doing this that way? So, which is always a good thing because it means you've grown. And I constantly look back at my old code, and it's constantly changing because I'm learning new stuff and learning that some things that I used to do probably wasn't the best. So, yeah. Okay, this default case is important. This one is not. That's not important either. Take that out. Okay, so that was all of our default cases. Now we should get some warnings. And then, thanks for the good advice. Yeah, no problem. I'm sure lots of the other people in here have advice as well. I know a lot of you guys have been programming for different levels of time and stuff, and so everyone has different things that have helped them, which it's just interesting to hear about like everybody's experience and stuff too, because mine may not be the same. So, okay, we can see here. Well, if we look at our build, we can see here. Okay, and we are getting warnings. What are the warnings? Why don't I see warnings about our... That's not good. I wanted to see warnings about our switch cases. If completely depends on the requirement. If you leave it out, you'll get a useful warning if you missed it at a case at compile time. If you compile with -w error, your program will fail. Well, I don't see this showing up. Let's go into animation because that's one of the ones that would. And let's build this. How do I build a single file? Build just this file. Control B. Okay. Can I rebuild a single file? Let's do that. Rebuild animations. No, this is rebuilding the whole solution. Okay. But I'm still not getting warnings. That's not good. C++, enable unhandled or missing default case and switch statement. Let's see. I want to have a warning. Why can't I just add a warning? Yes, check for missing default in switch case. Was that guy just lying then? Because I don't see... Or am I suppressing a warning? Possibly. Let's check my build very quickly. Now, I know this is completely tangential to what I wanted to do, but I think this is important and it'll help catch more cases. It's kind of tangential to what we're doing because I'm adding a new animation type and we want to know where we need to add code to fix things. So that is what's needed here. Where's my pre-make file? Pre-make. Okay. Which warnings am I suppressing? Okay, that's the C runtime, but that shouldn't matter. Maybe I'm not suppressing any warnings too. In that case, I wonder what level of warnings I have turned on too. We should probably check that. Yeah, I think I need to turn the level of warnings up is probably what it is. So we have, okay, so this is the one I'm concerned with. If we look here, yeah, it looks like, okay, so that's probably what the problem is. And this is a bigger problem I should have fixed a long time ago. Pre-make, set warning level. Warnings value off, default, extra, high, everything. Okay, let's do warnings high, see what that is, because I'm guessing that corresponds with like -W4 or something, which is probably pretty good. So we'll just do that right up here, warnings high. Let's rebuild. I was about to put 2019 in there, but I have since moved on. Okay, now let's run this and let's see if we get more warnings. Yes, we are getting a lot more warnings. Okay, so I've had a lot of warnings here that I probably should have looked at. I'll fix these in another case, but for now, we're just going to turn on the warning. We're going to see which error code gives us the one for like missing default, and then we're going to turn that as an error. So yeah, poison process. Dancer, I've only been coding for like 2 years, but what's helped me the most is trying to code stuff on my own rather than trying to default to a library. Yep. That's also a good thing for sure. So yeah, another important thing, make sure your projects all have high warnings turned on. I don't get why I didn't have this on by default. It's because this is an older project where I used to not do that, but now I always turn on higher warnings because it's important. I usually don't do -W error because I just go through and fix all the warnings every now and then, but that is also useful. Okay, let's see. Do we have missing defaults anywhere in here? It's really mad that I'm using a nameless struct in union. I really don't care about that, but it's a non-standard extension. I should probably look into that before I just suppress that warning. So yeah, we'll do that eventually. Yeah, a lot of these are good. I really should have turned this on earlier because now I'm seeing a lot of stuff where I'm like, I should probably look into that after the stream though. For now, we're just looking for, can I do a Control F? Yes, I can. Default. Case. Switch. Yeah, we're not getting anything here. I'm also curious which level it set it to for high. So if we look into here, we just look at the output here. This is the what they're compiling with. We have W4 on. Okay. What is the missing? You'll get a useful warning. C++, MSVC, missing default case in switch statement warning. Okay, so it should be there on level 4. Okay. Enumerator identifier in a switch of enum is not explicitly handled by a case label. Oh, wait, it says that has a default case. Wait a second. For a related warning on unused enumerators statements that have no default case, see C4062. Okay, yeah, so this is what we're looking for, C4062. Enumerator identifier in switch of enum enumeration is not handled. So we should see this if we have warning level 4, because yeah, we should see this pop up. It's interesting that we don't. If I do Control B in here, it just says succeeded. Let's see if we can rebuild just this one. Can I not just rebuild this file? That's all I want to do. Should be easy. Compile, Control F7. Here we go. Okay. So we get this warning, unreferenced formal parameter. Yeah, but we don't get that, which is interesting because what I've done, right? Let me just verify this is all true. .h. I've added this circumscribe here. And if we go back into animation.cpp and we look anim type v1, I have several switch statements in here that have no default case that also don't have that case in there, but we're not getting warned about it. This warning is off by default. Oh, for more information that things are off by default, see compiler warnings that are off by default. Well, how do I turn it on? C++, turn on specific warning. This is what I want. No, that's not what I want. I think if we do the thing that was in here, what was it? It's this one. /WE. And then we'll add that one. Let's try this. Okay. And I think we need to go into here. Let's do pre-make build options, I think is what it is. I just want to make sure build options. Yeah, pass arguments directly to the compiler without command line translation. That's what we want. So let's do that up here. Build options /WE. And we need quotes. And this is, it says we just need to do the number. This is 4062. Which we should see since we're compiling with level 4, but for some reason we are not seeing. Let's see if this helps it out. I don't know. Reload. Okay, so that should treat that warning as an error, I guess. Oh, sweet. Okay, wait, no. It's just invalid numeric argument. Why is that an invalid numeric argument? That's not cool. Visual Studio /WE. Or I guess MSVC. So this displays only warnings introduced in the version of compiler earlier. Okay. Treats all compiler warnings as errors. /W treats the compiler warning that is specified by n as an error. Okay, I think I don't need those quotes is what's happening here. Let's try that. /WE that. Maybe it's just a different compiler version that has that I do not have. Or maybe I need to upgrade to like C++ 20 or something. I have no idea. Yeah, that is so weird. Okay, let's look at this again. It says compile with /EHSC and /W4. Let's add this in there. Is it already in here? I'm curious. Properties. Thank you for following Herman MHBB. Good to see you. Okay, let's see if we have that. So we have /W4 on. Do we have that /EHSC on? I don't see it. We have /WX on too, apparently. Oh no, minus. I think that minus tells it to turn off, possibly. I have no idea. KFC. Yeah, we have /EHSC on too. What the heck? Why are we not seeing this pop up? This makes no sense. MSVC. Warning 4062 not recognized. Warning number not recognized. Okay, let's look it up. No, that's not what I want. 4062 is what it's called right there. And it's not showing up anywhere in here, which I assume means it's just been here for all of time. I have no idea. Like, why is this not showing up? This is for C++, right? Yep, and this is Visual Studio 2022. This is so weird. I have no idea why we're not seeing this. Is it because I have -OD on, which is optimized debug? I don't think that would mess with it, but no, that's disabled. Okay, yeah, optimization is disabled since we're in debug. Okay, let's look up what this is. Invalid numeric argument. A number greater than 65,534 specified as a numeric argument. That's not true, though. What the heck? 4062 is not greater than 65,536. Is it taking this E as... This is... What is going on here? Oh, I should be doing lowercase w. I swear, if it's just because I used an uppercase W and then N. So, for example, /WE4326 causes that. Okay. Let's try that, okay? If this is it, I'm going to be annoyed. Because they did not tell me that at all. Okay, let's try this. Do that. Reload. Is it going to work now? Who knows? Let's try this. Okay, now it's building. So, important guys, compiler options are case sensitive. Your /W's must be uppercase or lowercase appropriately. And if they're not, then it's going to cause you headaches for no reason. Man, that's obnoxious. Okay, is it actually going to pop up though? So I said to treat it as an error, and we should be seeing it. Like, I don't understand why we wouldn't be. According to their documentation and everything, it looks like we should be seeing it because we clearly have a switch on a type. And if we look at this, this is strongly typed. This is anim type V1. And we're missing one of the cases inside of this switch statement. Okay. Thank you. This is all I wanted. Great. Okay, cool. So now we can actually do this. Oh, cool. And it's actually bringing up extra stuff too. So this is exactly why I wanted this. Finally. Thank you, Visual Studio, for doing what I asked. Okay. Great. Now that we have this working, we can move on with what we were doing originally. Let's first fix these warnings. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and say, do this status add errors for unhandled switch cases, which this should definitely be on by default, in my opinion, because this is something that is very important. Okay, so this is internal object only. I'm going to actually switch this up a little bit. I've kind of changed my pattern for how I'm doing this, and I'll explain what all these magic data things are. So we're going to have const expr auto is internal object only equals fixed size array bool. This is anim object type v1 length. Okay, we'll do that. Copy that, move this up here because it makes more sense. Right there, we've got that. Copy all that. And then I'm going to comment this stuff out. This is going to be false. False. Most of these are going to be false. With the exception of this one. Okay. And then I have something in here that should be doing this. So let's go ahead. Is internal only somewhere down here. Yeah. So let's change this now to that. And it's going to do something similar to this, which is kind of gross, but I don't really care about these. These are just returning indexes and then doing an assertion to make sure that it's actually, yeah, that. This is, we'll just leave it the same. Okay, and then this is, what is that? I called that is internal object only. Okay, cool, so we've got that, and then we can go into here, remove this, and we should be good. Cool. And once again, I'll explain what all these are for. First, we need to fix the rest of these things. So let's go ahead and see what else we're missing. It's good to finally be making progress and actually have good warnings on too, which I didn't realize I was missing for the longest time. Okay, so length is not handled. These are interesting because I really don't care about the length, but we'll add them anyways. So anim one length break. Length is not handled. Length is not handled. Let's just fix all of these. Okay. Oh, and none is not handled as well, which we also don't care about. So we'll do the same thing, except just throw it in there with length, and so we don't care about either of these. Maybe I could add a warning, since if you're passing either of those in, that's probably wrong, but it really doesn't matter. Okay, anim object type none. This is none. As is that one. That one. Ah, see, this is a good one too. Tells me we're missing stroke width in this type, so that's actually really good. Case anim type. And this is exactly why we added it, was so that we can get these fat finger errors where I should have that stuff done. So animate stroke width inspector. Animation, and for now I'm gonna do this and say G logger warning to do implement me, which should hopefully bring it to our attention. Okay, this one is circumscribe. Okay, cool, and now we're getting the circumscribe ones. I'll come back to those in a minute. Let's just finish fixing these length ones. And then let's do none as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and add all of these in as well. Got that. That. I eventually want to add scripting too, which will be cool with Lua. So we should have like Lua scripting enabled, and that will kind of just be one of these case statements. And then I'll have some like extra type checking and everything to make sure that the Lua script registered all the appropriate functions and whatnot. But I think that'll be cool. Okay, so these are all the none ones. Okay, we're missing shift here. This is an interesting one. I don't know what I want to do for shift here. Case anim type v1 shift. Wrote that wrong. To do what should happen here, because I'm not really sure and I don't want to think about that. Okay, shift is not handled here either. Gizmo. That's the one I just did. Is it not? No, this is a different one. Case anim type v1 shift. I feel like that's wrong. No, that's right. Wait, what was this one? So this was animation on Gizmo. Animation on Gizmo. Why do I have two of these? Oh, because one of them takes in, okay, it's an overloaded method. Okay. Okay, so we'll just do the same thing. Curve type none, we don't care. None, break. Do I have a case curve type length? No, okay. So we'll just copy that. Don't care. Don't care about that one or that one. It's also just, nope, that's not gonna format, okay. This one. I swear we're almost done and we are going to go ahead and actually implement the fun stuff in just a second here. Okay, this. That. And that. Okay, cool. So I think that was all the cases. And of course, I've got a ton of warnings now since I've turned on a higher level, which I will have to fix eventually. Okay, yeah, so this is all that's left, and it is all for circumscribe, which is what we want. Let's go ahead and just commit what we've done. So we've added, and we didn't change that many files. Fix unhandled switch case statements. Okay, technically I'm pushing in broken code, but it's on a separate branch, so it really doesn't matter. Okay, so now we can actually think about the circumscribe animation. So this is probably the most important one, which is applying the animation to the object. For this, we will have to add something That basically tells us how far along this is. For now, what we're going to do is circumscribe. Break. I'm going to do this. And I'm probably going to do this like in most places. What is this? This is calculate keyframes for object. I don't think this one really matters. Yeah, I don't think we have anything here, so we can add this one here. Okay. And I will explain what all these do once we get this compiling again. Okay, for gizmos, this does not need a gizmo. Maybe it does, who knows? But for now, I don't think it does. Gizmo, no gizmo. This is for serialization. Okay, this is important. So for that, we're gonna say this as circumscribe. And we'll go ahead and implement that in a second. This is for create default, which is also important. Okay, res as circumscribe equals, and then we're just gonna do like something like that, which should be fine. Because let's go ahead and look at this again. So what kind of options do they give you? The shape. Okay, so this is probably gonna be like the only thing that we really have to serialize. Oh, and then fade in, fade out. Okay, yeah, and then the time width. So these are kind of like the things that we will be serializing. Yeah, and then the color and that type of stuff. Okay, so those will also be embedded in here. Let's see, what is this guy? Deserialize, which is also important. So case anim type v1 circumscribe equals circumscribe deserialize memory break. Okay, we'll do that. And this is the last one. This is for our animation inspector, which is also important. So let's go ahead and just add a stub for now. This will do handle circumscribe inspector. Let's go ahead and implement that. Handle animate stroke width or something. What was that? Handle animate fill color. We'll just do it here. Static void. Let's go actually look for that. And we'll put this one right here, which will do nothing for now, except say implement me. And maybe we can make this colored text just to make it more explicit. And we'll say hash ff0000 hex, which should give us a color. Okay, cool. So with all that done, we are probably gonna get a couple more errors because there were some things that I threw in there that weren't actually implemented yet. Yep, so circumscribe is not class or namespace. Let's go ahead and add this now. I'm not sure where the best place to add these types of things are. I'm probably just gonna add it in here for now, I guess, because that's kind of what I've been doing, but I don't really like that. Yeah, so we'll have circumscribe right here. It's gonna have some properties, all that stuff. We'll get that done eventually. For now, it's gonna be pretty simple. And we're just gonna have stuff like this, and then create default. Okay, so those are the three, and then we want this in there, which should be good. And then we just need to implement these. I guess, okay, let's add some properties and then we can kind of add more eventually. So shape, fade in, fade out. So we'll have enum class circumscribe shape. Okay, none, circle, rectangle. Or should we make rectangle 0? I think we should do that. So rectangle will be the default. So we'll have a shape. We've got fade in, fade out, which are both booleans. We can just do it like this, which I think will probably be easier. Fade in, out will be the default. Fade in, fade out. Yeah, that's all you need, right? Fade none. Yeah, so those just 4 possibilities, right? We have 2 values, 4 possibilities, in, out, or none. Yeah, okay, that works. Instead of doing 2 booleans, I don't know. Booleans are 8 bits, and I always get annoyed when I have a bunch of flags because that gets bad. This is like a state. It's really not really a flag is what I see this as. So I'm trying to get better about that, where flags are flags and states are actually represented as like enumerations. Time width. The time width of the drawing and undrawing gets ignored if either fade in or fade out is true. Do they have it? So time width is 2 on this third one. So there's 1, 2, 3. That's the 4th one. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that was the time width one. Was that 4th one? What does it do? Is what I'm curious about. Is it just how long the animation takes? I think it is. So in that case, I'm going to leave this because we have that embedded in other ways. It's already just kind of built into animations in general. And then the buffer, that's kind of, okay, yeah, this one's actually useful too. And color. Well, yeah, see, then they have runtime, which is the duration. So I have no idea what this time width is. It doesn't matter. We'll figure it out later. Okay, so buffer and color are the only other 2 things I need. Circumscribe fade. Float buffer size. I think I'm not going to do this too, because we can do this better. Buffer size. Small, well. And we actually don't want to add buffer there because that's already kind of implied. Small, medium, large. I'm wondering if we do want to give them the option to add a float and just kind of change it, or give predefined options. I don't know. I guess we'll leave it as a float for now. Maybe we'll do that later. And then the color, which will be important as well. Okay, so vec4 color. So this is 1624. I'll move that up there. Okay, cool. So we got that. Let's do this now. This is going to be below move to data. So let's go into here, find this stuff, and then go ahead and just implement all those functions, and then we should be pretty good. Okay, circumscribe. Got that, that, and that. Serialize, we have these properties we want to serialize. Okay. So let's do that. And I like doing it this way. vec4, shape is a U8, technically. U8 F32. Okay. And then we just want to say memory.write, or actually we can say cmath serialize and pass it memory and this color, which should do that. And then we want to do our shape, which is a circumscribe shape. Okay, and then we want to do our fade. And then our buffer size. Okay, so that should be serialization. Deserialize just does the opposite of that. So we basically go get circumscribe res, and then we say res dot shape color equals cmath deserialize vec4. And then we're going to say memory.read res.shape read that res.fade and read float. Okay, that's res.buffer. And then return res. Okay, and then create defaults similar to this. Let's grab that. Except we're going to go ahead and say that equals colors. Let's go include that. Hash include core/colors. Okay, go back. Accent yellow. Go 5. I have no idea how that's going to look, but we'll see. We can alter as needed. And then we have res.shape equals rectangle. Res.fade equals in out. And buffer size equals, and now what is this? I think we're going to do this as like a percentage. Whoops, that's not what I want to do. Like a percentage of the shape size, maybe. So like if the bounding box is 20 by 20, then 0.1 would be like 10% of that size and then go 10% out. So I'm just kind of treat it like that. Then we return that. Okay, cool. So with all that done, we should be good now. We should compile. And then I can finally explain what all those magic values were, what they do, which we'll see in just a second. I have a lot more warnings now, so I'm definitely gonna have to fix all those up and get it compiling without warnings again. Okay, so we are back in here. Now, if we look at our animations, we should have circumscribe in here, which is good. I'm not gonna drag it in yet because we're gonna get some warnings. That's like, actually, we might not. We'll see. I'll put it up here. Okay, so we're not getting warnings yet. Okay, yeah, so we have a to-do implement me in red here. That's good. No warnings. Good. And then what are all those magic values? Okay. So up here, I have some like weird arrays with some data. Animation object type names. So this one should be fairly obvious. So these are just like mapping these to friendly names. And then when we go back into the app, those friendly names are used here. That's all. I might use them in other places too. So pretty easy. Is internal object only. What is this for? So this is for determining whether or not the user can add this object to the scene. So you'll notice that there's something called SVG object, which is not. Well, it's true. It's the only one in here that's true. And that basically just means that it doesn't show up in this list and you can't actually add it to the scene yourself. but it does get added to the scene. So if we look at this SVG file object, this child is a SVG object, but it's internal only. And so that basically just means that it got some properties that I kind of generate myself, and it's added and used in different ways and everything. So it basically just means you can't add it yourself for reasons because it's getting generated. When you're scripting, I'm going to allow you to add that through scripts and stuff because it makes sense there where you're generating an SVG and not really importing it or something, say, from a file. So this one, animation type names, similar. I keep clicking the wrong thing, except they're used here. So just for friendly names there. Playback type names, same thing. Applies to children data. So this one is interesting. So applies to children means, does this affect a child object? And this is not what I wanted to do. So for example, a create animation is true. That means that we have this file object and it has a child. The child is actually what's getting created here. And if we go through this create, you can see, if I turn this off, it draws it in. Now this is more important for things like this hello world object. If we look at this object, you actually have several different objects childed to this, but they all get created when I do this create animation. And you can see I've only had to add it here. So basically what that does is it says, oh, this affects all of the children. Whereas something like this move to animation, there we go, with the hello world object, this is a good example. We can go and look at the code. Move to is false. It does not apply to the children because if we were to move all the children to the specific point that I'm moving this to, which is this dot over here, then they would all get like moved to the same position and then it would look jumbled and stuff, which doesn't work. So I only have that apply to the parent. And I might change this in the future because it is confusing trying to keep all these rules, but I'm just trying to do what feels intuitive. Like if you're moving this object, you don't expect its children to all jumble up there, which is kind of what I would think. So yeah. And then we have this is animation group data. This one's pretty simple. It basically just says, does this apply to children? Does this take multiple objects? So for instance, move to only takes one object. It's not an animation group. Create is, so it gets this drop down and you can do it to multiple things. I think that's it. Yes, that is it. Okay. And Anurag Anand, hopefully I said that right. Will this get converted in video? If you're asking, will I make a video about creating this? Yes. If you're asking if this actually gets exported to video, yes. We can do test export, which goes and it slows everything down because it's exporting it, but you can see it's doing each frame and stuff. And then if I stop exporting, we get an output test MP4, and that is exactly what we exported. So, and it will stop automatically at the end of the last animation. So if you just let it run, it'll stop here once it's finished. So yeah, but that's this. Cool. So now let's add circumscribe. Yes, that I was asking about export. Thanks for telling. Yep, no problem. Okay, so now we got the to-dos implement me. That's good. First of all, let's do the inspector. So first thing we want is when we click on a circumscribe, we have this to-do implement me. We want to add those options as options you can actually click on. So if we go to timeline, which is the most unintuitive file for this stuff that you would ever have, we've got this. I want to look to see where we have other drop downs. If I've made it easier to do drop down things. Combo boxes is what I mean. Let's do handle animation inspector. Take a look here. Okay. We've got that. So I've got IMGUI combo. Okay, cool. And then I just give it the names and it just kind of works. Okay, this is what we want to do. I always have to look up because I can never remember what sequence of commands I need to do to make things work. It's never as easy as you think it'll be. So we've got, this is not what I want. Current let's take a look at our properties again. Ta-da, we want to go down here. Circumscribe. There we go. Okay, this is what I wanted. So we want to expose these properties to the user through our timeline thing here. So we've got those. Okay, so we have our shape. That's the first thing. So we're going to say current shape equals animation as circumscribe.shape -1. Shape. That's that. For shape names. Okay, I guess we got to add this too. So let's grab this. It's going to be similar to this. And we're going to add this down here. Circumscribe shape names. Okay, and this is going to be this length. And we're going to have to add length here as well. Okay, so this is going to have rectangle, circle, and then we'll just call this length so that we remember it's there. Actually, we don't need to include that. No, we do. Wait, no, we don't. I don't think we do. Length is 2, so we just need 2 things. Okay, yeah, so that's how we want that. Same thing here, except we'll do that. This is gonna be fade. And we want fade in, out, fade in, fade out, no fade. Okay, so we got that. Cool. Okay, so we've got both of those. And now if we go back, yes, and that looks right, to our timeline, which is here, we should be able to give it our circumscribe shape names. And we want to give it just the first element there. And then we want to give it our length, and that should be good. This is not happy. Now it's happy. Cool. And then we want to just make sure this is all good. And we actually don't want to subtract 1 here. So I was subtracting 1 for some other things for reasons, but we don't want to do that here. Okay, same here. We don't want to do that. And this should be that. And we're going to say as.circumscribe.shape. Okay, all of that for the first thing. This is current shape. Okay. And this should be that, as should that. Okay, finally, with that done, we should have the shape done, and then we can add a combo box for fade, and then color picker, and then a buffer size, and we should be good. Let's see if this works. All right, so I click onto here. We've got shape is rectangle, and then we've got rectangle or circle picker there. That's good. Okay, then let's add one for our fade. That's that. Fade type. Give it that. That, and just change this. Fade. and fade. Okay, so now with that done, we should have the fade. I click here. We've got fade in out is selected, and we have fade in, fade out, and no fade. Sweet, that's working. Okay, then we want a color picker. Yeah, colors are a little bit weird. I think I can do this a little bit simpler though, since I'm using a Vec4, it should just kind of work here. Yes, we don't have to do it as complicated. I don't know why I made things complicated on myself by using U8 as colors in other places. It was a stupid decision and I need to change it at some point. But that point is not now. So yeah, this is gonna be as circumscribe.color. The address of that X component. I should probably add like a data thing, which makes more sense, but this is fine too. Okay, so this is the color. And we don't really need to do anything if the color changes, because that shouldn't really affect things. So let's just make sure that works. So click that. Now we have a color, and this is the yellow that I've chosen. We might change that default color a little bit later. Okay, almost there. And then we have a buffer size. That's the last thing. So then I am GUI drag float buffer size. This will take animation. That speed is our slow drag speed. And that should be good. Actually, we want to give it a min and a max. We'll give it 10 as a max. Okay. And maybe a format would be nice too. %2.3f. Okay. Unknown bat. Hi, how's it going? So we've got that. We have our buffer size. Cool. So now we have all the properties here. Another thing that I've just kind of thought of, but I'll have to do this later, is we don't really need this lagged start for things that are in animation groups. So I need to change this so that it doesn't show up for things like this. But that's a later problem. It doesn't really matter right now. Okay, so what's the simplest thing we could do right now to actually like draw the circumscribe animation? Is just draw a rectangle around our bounding box. So what I'm gonna do is, and actually one other thing too. No, we can use, okay, T value. So basically, if we go, yes, this is what I wanted. Cool. So if we go into here, this is the apply animation to object. And what this does is it essentially gives us a T value, which kind of tells us between 0 and 1 what % of this animation is complete. And we just have to basically tell it how to draw whatever it is that it needs to draw. And so you can see like in the transform case, all we're doing is we're just like transforming two objects. In the create case, all we're doing is setting this flag to tell it how much % created to draw this. Fade in, we're just adjusting alpha. Fade out, same thing. Move to, we're just adjusting positions. Shift, once again, positions. I need to change some of these too because they're broken. This one's kind of interesting though. Circumscribe, because I don't know if we need to do anything here. I am curious. I think we have a render somewhere in here for animations. Let's just double check that. Okay, so animation has, we have this. No, we don't have a render. Okay, so this apply is basically, well, wait a second. This is kind of important. So the reason I have this apply animation to object is because this doesn't get run every frame. This basically just sets some property on the object, which tells the object how to draw itself, and then we just go through and render each object. And so what I'm trying to think of right now is, how do I give it a way to tell the object to draw the circumscription rectangle around it? And I think the easiest way to do that is basically just to say, like, draw circumscribe, but inside the object itself, and then just set this flag to true or something. I don't really like this, though. I guess what we could do, which is also kind of ugly, but this is probably the best thing we can do, I guess. And I'll leave a to do in here to tell us to fix this some other time. So anim ID, we're gonna do this. To do this is an ugly hack. Think of a better way for this stuff. So we can have this in here. This will be a null ID. If we go into animation CPP, anim object, create defaults, res dot circumscribe equals null anim. Okay, so that will be null. And then when we're drawing it, when we apply a circumscribe animation, we'll set it to whatever our object is so that we can get the properties and then we can draw it. It's convoluted and I don't like it, but I guess this is how we're gonna do this. So we'll just roll with it for now. And I just missed the one I wanted. There we go. So this will basically just say obj equals this ID. Yeah, it's gross. I really don't like this, but we'll do this for now and then I'll figure out. For now though, I just kind of want to implement it and get it working. What's wrong with this? How would this be null? Oh, obj could be null. That's what we want to do. Okay, cool. That should disappear. There we go. Okay. So we'll do that for now. And then when we render our animation object, anim object render, we'll basically do something like, and I'll put do in here. This is gross. Fix me. If this circumscribe is not null, then we're gonna say anim animation star circumscribe anim equals get animation. Yeah, we'll do that. Give it that. This. Give it that. And then we'll say circumscribe anim render, which we don't have right now, but we'll add, and we're going to give it this %created to tell it how far to draw itself. And we are also going to give it that. I guess we could just give it bounding boxes. So right now, animation objects don't really have bounding boxes. Which, that might be something we need to add too. Right now, SVGs do have bounding boxes, but not animation objects. Man, there's a lot of things I didn't think about that I should have. For now, what we'll do though is we'll just say this SVG object, we're gonna get this working, and then I can clean it up later. And we'll give it the bounding box. Okay. If this SVG object exists, then we're going to use that. Okay, so that's how we're going to do it for now. We will fix things later. And let's go up to, where do we have that? Right here. Okay. So I'll have a render. This will take in a vec4 bounding box. And actually that might just be a vec2 bounding box. No, I think it is vec4. And then we also give it %. We'll just call it T. And we'll do that. So if we go back here, this should be fine now. What's wrong with this? Okay, no, it's actually called a bounding box. So we do that, that's fine. Nope, still not happy. Oh, we also have to say as dot that dot render. Okay. Cool, so we'll do that. We'll add one more if. So if that and circumscribe anim type equals that. Okay, so we finally have this. Now let's go and implement that function and we should actually render it. So let's go here, serialize, find out where this stuff is, and implement it. For now, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna say, let's go and draw a box and let's see if that works. So begin path. Start is gonna be this object's position, which I should have included in this. So this should also take in a vec3 position. Let's go ahead and add that. Okay, we'll go there. I'm trying not to include the object itself in here because it's not really necessary for this. Okay, so we're gonna do object position, which we only do 2D paths for now, so. Position. And then the identity matrix. So this is the transformation matrix. Begin path. Are we transforming this? I don't think we are. No, we are not. Okay, so we'll just leave that as is. And we'll say, actually, we might be transforming this. So the bounding box I'm getting is going to be it's going to be a little bit different than like the bounding box of the actual SVG. This is going to be a normalized bounding box, and we actually want to scale that. I'll do that in a different place though. This will just draw using this data. Okay, so anyways, we're going to do that. This is going to give us a path 2D context star path. Okay, then we can say render move to or align to. We're going to give it our path, and we're going to say to the point. And actually, we don't want to go here. We want to go object position minus bbox dot min. We want the size technically, so we're going to do bbox dot max minus bbox dot min over 2. Okay, so that should give us like the bottom left corner, and then we want to do align to the top left corner. So that's going to be bbox. And this is quickly going to get... Okay, so actually, instead of doing this beginning from here, let's make this a little bit simpler on ourselves. We're going to say GLM mat4 transformation. We want identity. Okay, and then we're going to say GLM translate the transformation by our object position. Yes, I think that's right. Why is this not happy? Mat4, vec3. Oh, because this is not, okay, yeah. We'll just do this. Okay, now it's happy. So we'll say transformation equals that. So we translate Let's give it our transformation. This will transform everything, and now we can do this kind of locally, which will be nice. So now we can just go to, and let's actually do the transformation minus the half size, because if we do that, then it'll center it automatically. So let's do that as well. Oh, and I need to include that inside of our translation here. Okay, let's do a GLM, or we'll say vec3 translation with object position minus that. And then we'll do the translation here. Okay, and this is not happy. Why? Because we need to do that, and that, and now we're happy. Okay. Cool. So we do that. Now, all I have to do is say go from 0, or actually, I guess we would go from bbox.min. So we've got that. Now we can do this a little bit easier. So we'll do line 2. The path, we're going to go to vec2 bbox min.x, bbox.max.y. So that's the top left. Then we're going to go to, actually we can just go bbox.max. So we're going to go to the top right, and then bottom right, which is going to be that and that. And then we're going to close the path. Okay, and that's it. Cool. So if we do that, I think that should draw it and everything too, right? So this is, does that, all that stuff. Yeah, I think that should draw things, maybe. Do I have to free the path too? I do, okay. And then we're gonna free the path. Cool, so this should just draw a box around it. And the reason I'm doing this as a path is so that we get nice corners. I'll show you guys once we actually get this running. So let's see if this works. And if it does, we can kind of talk about what's happening here. I have a feeling it's not gonna work because there's a few things that are kind of broken. We gotta fix this first of all. Okay, do that. Oh, and I also have to add an object picker so we actually know what this is acting on. Do we? Yes, I think we do. So what's happening here? This is null. Oh, I should probably check and see if that exists too. Yeah, that would help. So if this should check and see if it's null. Weird. Let's just do this instead. If that. Okay, cool. So now we're in here. This is all working fine. If I go to here, we get nothing because this is not acting on any object yet. So this is kind of the last thing I got to do is add an object picture here. So let's do that real quick. This should have an anim object ID object that it acts on, and then we can go into here. No, we can go into our timeline, and let's actually, we need to serialize that now too and stuff. Okay, let's fix this real quick. Circumscribe. Let's go and fix all these. So we've got OBJ. That's gonna write this object. And for now, we're gonna say object equals that, just to make sure that this kind of fixes things. I guess we'll do temp duplicate that, and we're just gonna write temp for now. Okay, and then we'll remove that and replace it once we serialize and deserialize once. OBJ. And this will say read that. We don't want to do that because that'll break things. And then this will just say obj equals null object. Okay, and I think that should fix that stuff. So let's just fix this real quickly. So this should save it out. So we're going to deserialize fine. Then we're going to save it fine. And then we're going to deserialize it fine once we re-enable all that stuff. So let's do this real quickly. Once it finishes compiling. And I think we're pretty close once we get past this point. Okay, so everything loaded fine. We close it. Let's get rid of that and do that. And so now we should load it fine as well. We loaded it fine. Cool. So now we've kind of added that. And then if we go into the timeline, we want to add a drag and drop for this. So we'll say I am GUI extended drag and drop input box. So we can give it this. We'll say object. We need to give it the animation manager. So we'll fix that in a second. The output is animation that. So that's what we're putting it into. And our animation is this. Why is that not happy? Is incompatible with anim ID. Oh, animation ID. Okay. So we'll do that. Let's just fix this. Okay, fix that. Okay, cool. So now we should have a drag and drop there. And it should show like drag object here or something because we don't actually have anything. Okay, cool. So we can see that it is null. But if I go ahead and I drag this here, now we have that. We're not getting any errors. Okay, so what should happen now is what I'm wondering. It should render it. That's what I'm thinking, but I'm wondering if we're having problems. Let's see if we're rendering first of all. So if we go put a breakpoint in there. We're not hitting this. Okay, so that's good to know. Let's go see our flow one more time. So anim type v1 circumscribe. That's not what we want. Okay, this is what we want. So first of all, we need to change this. Okay, yeah, this is what's wrong. So this should be object to circumscribe, and this is going to be as that dot obj. Okay, and then we're going to set this to that. This is all ugly. We're going to change this stuff in the future, but right now, trying to make it work. Okay, cool. So now we're actually rendering it. Let's see what happens. Okay, so we are rendering it, and you can see that it's rendered in the background here. It's not getting closed. So we will add one more thing to make it actually close, which is just render line 2 path. Okay, we'll do that. And we'll just do that. Wait, actually, no, we want to say true, because that does do some important stuff. Okay, there we go. Cool. So we've got a box. It's in the wrong place, but that's fine. I was expecting that. And I think it's the wrong color too. So we also need to add that color there. But the reason we're doing this as a path too, first of all, is because you'll notice what I have is for paths, they actually get these mitered corners. And if I switch views here to wire mesh, you can see what's actually happening here is we're getting triangles that kind of like make this path, instead of having like disjointed lines and stuff, it actually looks correct, like how you would expect it if the lines were actually joined together. So that's the reason we do that. Better lines. And I think things moved when I did that, which is interesting because that box looks like it's in a different place now. Anyways, a couple of things. First, it's in the wrong place and it's the wrong size. That's fine. I kind of expected that. It's also the wrong color. We can fix that easier. So let's do that first. Say render push color object color. Ooh, okay. So this is the last thing we need to add, which is just bbox float t. And I guess like const vec4, or actually no, this is in this. So we can just say this color. Yeah, we can just do that. And then pop color. Okay, cool. Oh, cool. And I think this is gonna work out very nice now. Okay, so now we've got the right color. I'm interested. So one of the things we need to do for this is make it look like it's fading in and out, right? Oh, they don't even do this in Manum too. So this is interesting. You notice how the path, okay, so if I pause in the middle of it, the path here just like kind of has a hard edge. It doesn't like go from a faded color, which I always thought it did. I don't know. For some reason in my mind, this was like transparent and then it slowly faded in, but they don't have that. And I do wonder how that would look. So if we were to do this, I'm interested. I have no idea if this is going to work too, because I have no idea how my path API will handle this. I think it should work, but I'm not quite sure. If we were to do push color, actually, let's just do this color, vec4 .r g b, and then I'm gonna do like half transparency. So we'll do that. We'll do the first line too, and then I'm gonna push color 1, and we're gonna pop the other color. Does that give us a transparent kind of lead in? Is what I'm wondering. Oh, it does. Okay, this is kind of cool. So now you can see this is half transparent. This is fully transparent. Why is this important? Because it means we can kind of like fade it out. So if I were to do this now, okay. So you got that. Let me think through this real quickly. Okay, so if we were to start this at 0 transparency, we do a line to, and instead of doing a line all the way to here, I'm gonna do a line to like 20% of the path length for that top corner. So we're gonna do vec2 min.x. Wait, where? Okay, so we're starting at the bottom left, and this is going to the top left. Okay, so we want to do like that times max.y. Actually, we want to do like that minus that plus that. Okay, that should give us like 20% of the line. I'm curious what this is going to look like. We're just kind of playing around with stuff. Okay, so it's fully transparent there, and I can't really see because of this what's happening here. But I would expect to see fully transparent fading into colored, but I'm not. Did I do this wrong? So we begin at min, and I go from x to 20% of the y height plus the min y. Then I pop the color, and then I do full transparency, and then I go, I guess I should probably not do full transparency too, but this color dot A. And then I go min x max y, which I imagine would work okay. Maybe it's just because I have this at like the beginning of the path, but still don't see why that would break things this much. Let's do this instead. We'll do that, and then we'll do it here instead. So this will be okay, so we'll do line to that top left corner, then I'm gonna push this one, and then we're gonna have to push this color again after this one. This is just kind of messing around with stuff. It's not, it is important to the end goal, but it's not. Okay. We'll do that. Okay. So now this is going from the top left to the top right, which is what this is. So what I want to do is let's go render line 2. And then we want to go 20% of the X direction is what I'm thinking. So that minus that times 0.2 plus that, and we have it up here. Okay, let's see what happens here. The reason I'm moving it around is just because I'm doing the exact same thing I did before, but I'm just moving it to a different corner to see what happens. Okay, so this is where we're doing it, which is we're getting from here to here. What I was hoping to see was like a fade from here to here. I want to add that ability. So I might change my path API to like have a fade in and fade out or whatever. So we can actually fade in the line, because I think that'd be cool. For now though, it really doesn't matter. So we don't need to worry about this. But I'm wondering why it's, oh, and that's, okay. If we were to change this to 0.5, we would see it. Okay, I see what's happening now. So yeah, so now we see this line segment. So what's happening is it's just treating the whole thing as one color. What I really want to happen is have this end be this color and then this end be this color. So we'll change that in the future though. For now, let's fix the other stuff. So get rid of that. Okay, we're all good there. Let's just make sure this is working again. Oh, and I should probably get rid of that. It's unnecessary. It doesn't change anything, but it's unnecessary. Okay, get rid of that. Cool. So now we got that. It's in the wrong place though. So let's go find out where we render this. This is in render. Okay. So the bounding box, I think all I need to do is say SVG bbox. I think we need to do that and then just say bbox.max times equals this scale. I think if I do that, no, this isn't going to work. So I just want to scale this uniformly. Can I do this? No. Okay. So I just want to scale this uniformly. So we'll do .x times equals that. Same thing here. And there. And I think that should give us the appropriate size and everything now. You may be, hey, any advice for getting into creating games with OpenGL and C++? Like, what would you recommend for the start? Where did I start my journey? I don't know if I have any solid recommendations. Basically, with what I started for C++ in specific was just like writing C++ projects. That's the easiest way to learn C++. For OpenGL, this is the best resource I have, and this is what I always recommend. The OpenGL Super Bible 7th edition. So this is definitely the best resource. It's for OpenGL 4.5, which is almost the most modern version. I think there's 4.6 or 7, which you can also get in the 8th edition. I've only read some of this one though, so I don't have too much. Or no, it's this red book here is the other one. Don't have as much information on this one as I do on the 7th edition. This one's pretty good too though. But yeah, those are good for learning OpenGL. But yeah, just doing projects is probably honestly the easiest way to learn this stuff. So unfortunately, I can't give too much more other than that. Where did I start my journey? Basically just like doing random projects and stuff. I would clone games. So I would like make game clones. You can kind of see here. Yeah, so I've cloned lots of games. I started in Java. And this was my first big OpenGL project, I guess. This one was using Java AWT, but I just kind of got familiar with making games in general, using several different things. So lots of game clones, and then slowly built my way up to where I'm at now. But yeah, start with something you know is probably the easiest. So if you've made Pong before, start with that in OpenGL before you start with something more complicated, and it'll make your life easier. I am interested. Why is this not working? I know why it's not working. I'm annoyed about why it's not working because I know what I actually need to do is get the scale out of the transformation matrix. Get scale out of transformation matrix. That's what I want to do. Yeah, no problem. And TinSpin, I'm actually back to my 2D MMO made in 2000 with Java. Nice. It's always good to go back to stuff too, revisit it and see if you can do better things. That's a good advice as well. AEI, BFJ, CJK. Oh, this is the, gotcha, we have to do the length of these vectors. Okay, so we can get the scale on the X by getting the length of those. Does GLM get scale from mat4? Can we do that? Sweet, we can. Okay, so I want to decompose this. So GLM, decompose. Where does that exist in decompose? It's in here. Let's go. This is going to trigger a big recompile. That's always fun. Okay, so we want to go GLM, decompose. We're going to give it this global transformation, and we're going to get our scale. Orientation, which I don't really care about. Translation, don't care about. Skew and perspective. But we kind of have to get all those. So we'll say vec3, scale, skew, perspective. And then quat, orientation, and translation. Okay, so I think that's all we need. What's wrong with this? No instance matches vec3, vec3, vec3. Do we need vec4s? Vec3, quat, vec3, vec3, vec4 for skew? No, for perspective. Ah. Change that. All right, there we go. So now we have the scale, which is the actual scale I want to use. So we're going to do bbox.x or min.x times equals scale.x. I should have kept that code. This is max y max. Okay. And I never even passed it through too. So I don't actually know if the last thing was working. I'm assuming it was not working though. Okay, so this is gonna re-trigger, big thing. TinSpin, don't I miss Java sometimes? Not really. And wait, am I rebuilding Flash right now? I'm not rebuilding Flash. I'm building an animation editor, but I do find it interesting that you mentioned that because a lot of what I have here is easily applicable to Flash games. And it's definitely a thought that's crossed my mind. I think in the future, I do want to modify this slightly to support like making games using SVGs like Flash. So like just making this a general purpose game engine specifically for SVGs. And since I'm going to add 3D support and everything too, I think it could be really interesting because it'll have all that stuff built in anyways. So yeah, that's not the intended goal, but it might happen. Interesting that we have this breaking now. I wonder why we didn't get warned of this earlier. Load WAV file. We're missing a case in here. What case are we in? Oh, length. We can just ignore that. Okay. And none. We can also ignore that. Okay. Color channel, none is not handled. We can ignore that. Actually, we'll do that, which is interesting. Ease type, not handled. Case, ease type, length, return, T. I guess we'll just break. We really don't care. Case, ease type, none. Also don't care. I think we've got, okay, path token type. Case, which one? Path token type, end of file. Is this important? This is for parsing SVG paths. So if we're interpreting an end of file command, that means something's gone wrong. SVG end of file as a command. Something must have gone wrong. Check logs, and I'm going to call this a panic. Okay, and then length we can just ignore. Technically it's also bad, but should not be passed in, hopefully. What are these? Oh, number, panic. Okay. Panic, we can just ignore all of these. Okay, here we go. This is style attribute none. These are all the ones that we missed and didn't get notified of when I added these compiler warnings. So this is fun. Which one is this? This is style is not handled. I should probably be looking at this a little bit more closely too and making sure these don't matter. What is this for? This is for... Okay, yeah. I guess they technically don't matter right now, but I should probably fix them later. Color. Break. Case, style, token, type, length. Yeah, that's also here. Number pixels. This is SVG element type defs. I will be interested to see if we actually hit any of these. Desk. Okay, that desk is not handled here. I did say it would be fun since we have a we were triggering an entire recompile. That is true. I didn't realize I had so many errors that were not getting picked up. Okay, that's fine. Wait, no, this is none. Okay, this one is none. Polygon. Almost done. Rect. Style. I don't think these code paths will get hit, but just in case they do, title. And then use, almost there. And view mode length, we can ignore. Okay, now we can compile. And TinSpin, sorry. Am I rebuilding Flash right now? I think there are a bunch of people that actually misbuilt Java and Flash. Secretly, they won't admit it. Yeah. They were at least way better than all the browser things we have now. I agree. Revive the applet Flash plugin. Yes, it would be cool to have an engine that supports it out of the box and just exports a game. I don't know how useful it would be, though, because we already have like SVG Flash kind of replacements built in other languages that people can use, and I don't see people using it that much, so I don't know how much of a need there actually is. I think it was just a side effect of the internet and everything that we probably won't have again for a while. But they're terrible? I don't know. I've used a couple of them, and they weren't too bad, so I've got no idea. And it might be the existing Flash games, right? You need a community of people who will build the Flash games too, so it's something I definitely think would be fun, so I probably will implement it eventually in the future, but I have no idea what the actual kind of demand for stuff like that would be. Yeah. How's it going, Asher? And look at this. I will look at that just to be safe. I trust you, TinSpin, but just to be safe, I'm opening it on a separate thing. Oh, I didn't know they had Flash players like embedded. Oh, you're just showing me like an example of an HTML game. Well, HTML games don't have to be this bad too, though. I don't think. Some of the projects I did were HTML games too, because that was like the first thing that I learned. No, I don't think I have any up here. This was one of them, but this was not a very good HTML game. But just kind of as an example of like, it doesn't have to be bad. Like you can have better games. I have something called games here. I don't think I have any games actually on here. Yeah, this just does nothing right now. So I think my plan was to add some HTML games up here, but you can have good HTML games. Cookie Clicker is an example. I know it's not everybody's type of game, but like the graphics and everything, it's very fully featured and it uses actual HTML elements, which is also interesting. Another good one is Salem. What is that game called? It's like Mafia, except it's Town of Salem. That's what it is. Also another game, good game, which is HTML, but very fun. I think it's HTML. I have no idea, honestly, but also very fun. Anyways, my point is there are good HTML games and stuff, but just a lot of people don't put in the effort. And Asher, I started game development using processing.js. Yeah, which is also good. And Slither.io also counts as an HTML game. That is true. Also good. The IO games are pretty fun. What was the original IO game? It was where you're the circle. I can't remember these things. It's been so long. Copied Asher's die curve clone and the processing P5JS is 2.5 megabytes. Yeah. Agar, thank you. Agar, I have no idea. But yeah, that was a good one too. Okay, so this looks like it's the correct size too. This is interesting. It looks like we have it translated wrong though. So I wonder if we don't actually want to translate very quickly. Let's go back and focus on what I was doing here. So I wonder if I actually want to do plus here. No, that's definitely not what I want to do. Okay. What if I don't add the offset at all? What happens there? Agar? Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah, just wasn't sure. Okay, interesting. So it looks like we're offset just completely wrong. Where is this guy's center? So his center is right here. I say center, his center. I don't really know. It's interesting that it's down there too. Because that's not what I would expect. I don't know. Maybe I should just translate by the B box is what I should do. So maybe instead of doing this, well, actually, no. So what am I doing? I'm going here. Yeah, no, this is what I would expect, I think. Let's do this again, minus. And I think what I want to do actually is instead of doing this, we want to get like the size. Vec2 size equals max minus min. So we're going to do that. And then we're going to start at 0, 0. We're going to go, whoops, that should be 0 size.y. We're going to start vec2 0, 0. Go to size. This should be size.x 0. And then back to the beginning. Okay, let's try that and see what happens. Okay, we got the same thing we got before, which is interesting. What should be happening is this bounding box should be fitting tightly around this. It looks like it's the correct size, but it's not shifted correctly. And that's why I'm wondering what's happening here. Is it because of this position? I think it is. Let's also do this. So we want the global position, not whatever I was using there. So circumscribe.render. Yeah, so I don't want to use this position. I want to use whatever we have here. So we'll use the translation, vec2. Okay. I mean vec3, of course. Let's try that, see what happens. So that should give us the global translation, which I think is probably what we want. Hey, there we go. Okay, cool. So we got a tight bounding box now around our SVG. And you can see too, this was not as easy as you think it is to get a bounding box of an SVG element. It's kind of difficult because in order to get the correct length here, like this SVG curve right here, the control points are probably like, so you have a control point here, here, and here. And the thing is, you could have a control point that goes like out to here. But that doesn't really contribute to the bounding box. And so you have to do some calculus to figure out exactly where the boundaries lie and everything. And yeah, just not as fun. But anyways, that's good. So we've got circumscribe here. I don't like the default color. My microphone just keeps falling. Tinspin, the point is you can do way better than JavaScript PHP. Agreed. Google and Facebook took two not so interesting languages, VMs, and made them into their own Java. Such a waste of time. Wasm is like a Chinese Java. Go is Google's Java. Rust is madness, etc. Well, I don't think so. If I do turn this into a game engine, I'm not adding Java support, unfortunately. I also wouldn't be adding, I think Flash has some language. I would not be adding that. I would only be adding Lua scripting. So if you're not happy with Lua, then you probably wouldn't be happy with this as like a Flash replacement. Who knows? Maybe I'd add more bindings eventually and stuff, but yeah. I got no idea. This is pretty good though. I want to kind of draw stuff now. Like draw this in. Right now it just sits there and doesn't really do anything. And it should turn off once we get to here, but it's not. Because we need to do apply animation. What we need to do is say for circumscribe, wherever it is. Okay, here. So what I want to do is if we're at 0 or 1, I want to basically say if, I mean, we could just do this here. If t equals 0 or t equals 1, we want to set this to null. Or I guess null anim. Okay. That's what we want to do to turn it off. And then I also want to do reset state, something like that. Reset. What is reset? All state. This is what I want. I also need to do this here. Circumscribe. Okay. So doing those two things should make sure that it turns off afterwards when we're not actually drawing the animation. Okay, so it's off, it's on. It's not off here. So this is what I was worried about. Why is it not turning off there? It does turn off if we hit it just right. So I have to hit that 0 frame in order for it to detect that it's not on. If I go too fast and just like skip past it, it doesn't detect it and it doesn't actually apply it. Which is interesting because I should unapply it. Do I have an unapply animation? Maybe I do. Apply. So we have apply animation, but we don't have an unapply. Wait, I think I know what's going on actually. So if I go, instead of saying equal 0, if I say less than, greater than, let's try that. And what's wrong with this? Oh. We should do that so that we're not dereferencing null objects. Yeah. And Tinspin, cool. I think you're onto something, at least as a procrastination project to the voxel stuff. Yes. We'll see how it goes. Okay. No, so we're still not unapplying it. That's weird. I should be unapplying things. So when I go backwards in the timeline, I say apply. Whoops, if we go to Animation Manager CPP and I go to apply delta, this should go backwards. So we basically find where we want to start. Then I go backwards. Okay, yeah, so this is where I unapply it. So I say apply animation to 0, which should take it backwards. It's interesting that I don't actually hit this though. Let's put a breakpoint there. Yeah, I should be hitting that, and I'm not ever hitting it. So something is broken in my code. This is good. I've known there was a problem for a while, but I had no idea what the problem actually was. So what's going on here? Okay, so we look for assume new frame is less than previous frame. So we started off at the last animation. Then we say 0 to animation size. If the animation's frame start is greater than previous frame. Okay, this is just broken completely. That's interesting. Well, I'll have to fix this. I think I'm probably gonna be done for today. I will fix this in my off time and everything. But I am happy with where we're at. Like, we do have this working. Things kind of break whenever you get to here. Let's go. Wait, actually, I want to just take that guy. So if I go there, let's change this color to something a bit better. This will be our default color now. Okay, so we'll just grab that. That's gonna be our default color for these. And then I'll go ahead and add like all this stuff. Basically, I'm just gonna add it so that it, depending on the percentage of creation, it just kind of draws a line going around it of a certain width. I have no idea. I'll figure something out. But the hard part is done, I think, which was just kind of getting the path started. Now that we have it all kind of hooked up, It should be much easier to just go into here and then actually render it, which would be render, circumscribe, render. Yeah, so then I just go into here, use whatever settings are applied and actually apply it to here. So it shouldn't be too bad, but I am getting tired. So we're probably gonna end this stream right about here. Let's just change this very quickly. Oh, right here. The color, let's just change that to be that. Cool. Okay, that's about that. Let's just check this stuff in now. I did not want to undo delete. Okay, let's open that. That's what I wanted to do. Commit. After I add basic beginning of circumscribe. All right, cool. Well, thank you everybody for watching, and I'll hopefully see you guys next week. All right, see you.